Free Japan Channel number 30. Today, May 23rd, Thursday here in Yokohama. The time is 9 a.m. So morning has come today. The sky is cloudy and the atmosphere is now early summer here. Dear listeners, where are you listening to this broadcasting? Today's topic, FGC's today's topic is buffer in Ukraine border. Now, May 2024 is the time the Russian troops are going ahead to the Ukraine territory. Now, anybody can see that Russian army is predominant in Ukraine war. Ukraine army is now receding, and President Putin of Russia says that if the front line will go forward, then this area should be buffer between Russia and Ukraine, which means Russia doesn't have any intention to go forward further. From the first time, President Putin didn't have the motivation to annex Ukraine on the whole, but he reiterated that the cause of this military operation of Russia in Ukraine was denazification. Denazification is the extreme right people are now rampant in Ukraine, and other ethnic minorities, including Russians, are oppressed by these right wings in Ukraine. So Putin said that Russia had a duty and responsibility to save these Russian people in the eastern Ukraine. This was the most imminent reasons for Russia to invade the Ukraine territory. And then this objective of Russia in the war effort has been more or less achieved, and occupied territory is now operated by Russian government under Russian regime. So the language is Russian, and originally in this area, eastern Ukraine, the people, 80% of the people were already speaking Russian language, so there is not such big change in this regime change. And other administrative reform and change is now steadily implemented in this area. So President Putin achieved the initial goal of this military operation. Then the next step is to build buffer. So Russian army has the necessity to go further to build this buffer. Military buffer is often built between the countries which are hostile to each other. In Asia, Korean Peninsula is a good example. Korean Peninsula is now divided into North Korea and South Korea. And these two countries have been hostile to each other for more than 80 years. The Korean War ended 1953, and This year is 2024. So 70 years, 70 years, and these two countries are reprimanding each other. And it is needless to say that the buffer line was built between these two countries. So latitude 38 is very famous for this issue. Latitude 38 is a location that this buffer is extending from coast to coast from east to west of Korean Peninsula. This buffer line is 2 kilometers wide, and this area is severely monitored and supervised by the authorities of both countries. So virtually no one can escape from this buffer area. If there is somebody who try to do so, he will be shot immediately by the soldiers of North Korea or South Korea. President Putin is now is now ordering to build such buffer between Russia and Ukraine. And President Putin thinks that the hatred of Ukraine people in the western area will be strong enough to have the great antipathy to Russian people and Russian government for Ukraine people. So this buffer is necessary for unnecessary conflicts not to happen in this area. In my opinion, 2024 is American presidential election will be held, and former President Donald Trump will be re-elected in the election. This is my prediction. So if this prediction comes true, then Trump is on the good terms with Putin. And Trump always said that if he becomes the next president of the United States, then in 24 hours, the Ukraine war will be stopped. This is the pledge of Donald Trump in his electoral campaign. So if this prediction is realized, then the buffer is needed to maintain the diplomacy between Russia and Ukraine. It is very dangerous for hostile countries to have the direct border. Buffer is required. So this buffer remark of President Putin is very to the point, and Putin, is now carrying out the necessary steps to solidify the occupied territory for Russians. Thank you very much for listening to today's FGC.